I need the scoop.
A family deliberately poisons their own daughter to prove her gluten allergy isn't real. This shocking Reddit confession reveals how a simple restaurant dispute escalated into a life-threatening betrayal that divided an entire family. Join us for a disturbing story about medical gaslighting, family toxicity, and the devastating moment when a mother's smugness sent her daughter to the emergency room.
I am gluten-free, not by choice, but out of medical necessity. I became allergic about 5 years ago, so it's not new, and I have gotten pretty good about eating out without being completely obnoxious. I know my limits with ingesting gluten. When I went out with friends last month, I ordered a cheeseburger with no bun and substituted the side of fries with steamed veggies to avoid leftover gluten in the fryer. When the plate came, it had fries and a bun. I asked the waitress if my plate could be remade because I was allergic to gluten. She gave me attitude, told me potatoes don't have gluten so I can eat fries, and to take the bun off because the kitchen was slammed. I told her I could wait and didn't need to be prioritized, but to please just have my food remade. When it finally came, it came out in a takeout box with all the checks. I wasn't about to make a fuss, and I was just planning on going home after, so I figured I'd eat the takeout at home and say, oh well. But on my check, I was charged for 2 meals with an upcharge for substitutions on both. I went to the bartender and got 1 meal taken off my bill and tipped her nicely in cash, but decided to never eat there again. So, last night, I had family over, and they wanted to order in, specifically from the same place that got my order wrong last month. I told them that's fine, but I would order from somewhere nearby and just go pick them both up. I thought this was reasonable, but my family looked at me like I just suggested something completely outrageous. They told me they thought I was out of my childish phase and that not eating gluten wouldn't help me drop the extra weight I'd put on. It was such a massive overreaction to me, and I don't know why they felt the need to comment on my weight, which I wasn't concerned about until they said that. So, I explained the situation that I had a bad experience there with a simple ask, and they doubled down that it's immature to never eat there again, and to inconvenience everyone else just because I don't want some carbs. I dropped it because I was so shocked, and just ordered from the restaurant next door. Turns out they have the same generic brown takeout boxes, so when I got back and we ate, everyone was telling me, see, don't you feel silly now? Everything is fine. And that I needed to stop being a Karen. It's the next day, and I just feel like it was so weird. I wanted to share what is kind of a funny and light-hearted story, but I'm also slightly wondering if I am overreacting by not going there again. The most baffling part is that my family knows my gluten allergy is medically necessary. Apparently they didn't think I was serious about it, or they thought I'd grow out of it the same way I developed it. Who knows? I'm starting to see that they can be pretty horrible about this situation.
The community rallied behind the original poster, with many sharing their own experiences of family members dismissing serious medical conditions. As the poster reflected on these supportive comments, the truth about her family's toxic behaviour became impossible to ignore. Within just 24 hours, what began as a simple restaurant disagreement would transform into a shocking betrayal that would change her family relationships forever.
What started as a seemingly light-hearted question about overreacting turned into quite a family saga and a trip to the emergency room real fast, so I wanted to update my story about a restaurant boycott. But before getting into the drama, here's a happy update. One of my friends knew I had a Reddit account and saw my post. She called the health department herself and reported the restaurant, then left a long and seething review, and even went back and talked to the manager about our exact waitress. She was there during the incident and had already criticized the restaurant with me, but knowing all this made her go nuclear. I truly love her. Now for the drama. I wrote the original post the morning after the dinner happened. The dinner was decent, but I was very quiet. Reading all the supportive comments calling out my family's behavior really made me think. So, when my sister called me later that day to ask why I was acting strange at dinner, I had already been processing everything, and I kind of snapped. I told her I was quiet because I was hurt by the things others said, and nobody defended me, as usual, while my friend went out and fought for me, even when she didn't have to. We argued about what was said, whether I was being too sensitive, and even about whether my gluten allergy was as serious as I claimed. I told her I didn't need this, and hung up. Later, my mum texted me, followed by my brother, and then my sister again. They all said we should drop it because we're family and this was silly. I put them all in a group chat and said, yes, it is silly to fight with me over my own medical diagnosis and the food that I eat that has nothing to do with them. I told them I didn't need my family to treat me this way when I have friends and other relatives who don't, and they could talk to me when they were done being the immature ones. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and finished my workday. Yes, this was all happening during a workday. My evening was relaxing. My husband cooked a delicious gluten-free meal while I explained everything to him. He was out of town when the incident happened. He was the perfect supporter and started highlighting more toxic behavior from my immediate family that I had been blind to. Then, like a sitcom with ironic timing, there was a knock on the door. My mom and sister came over to make amends and brought dessert from what they claimed was a gluten-free bakery. There are multiple gluten-free bakeries around us, so I didn't question it. I should have been more cautious. We sat down to talk, and I grabbed a cupcake. One bite in, I knew by the texture it was not gluten-free. I immediately spit it out and just looked at them, waiting for them to admit it. My sister had a look of slight fear while my mum sat there looking smug. All she said was, "Gluten won't kill you, honey. You grabbed that cupcake pretty fast. That's a bigger concern." I was holding back tears from the feeling of betrayal and ran to my husband who was giving us space. He already had the keys and gave me my shoes to put on, and we left to go to the emergency room. He stopped at the door to tell them, "You are never welcome in this house again," before taking me to the hospital. I could feel my throat tightening as I was sobbing in the passenger seat. I used the EpiPen we keep in the car when I felt symptoms starting. Even after using an EpiPen, you should always be monitored because symptoms can come back in waves. We live less than 10 minutes from the hospital, and my husband could get me there just as quickly as waiting for an ambulance, not to mention avoiding the significant cost of an ambulance ride. I was seen right away at the hospital, and I'm fine now. We decided to file a police report. Even the nurses urged me to after my husband told them the whole story. I plan to file the report, request they pay my medical bills, and leave it at that, with little to no contact going forward. I have aunts, uncles, and family on my husband's side who take the time to accommodate my dietary needs, which is so thoughtful. I always tell them they don't need to go to the trouble and that I'll be okay, but I'm realizing that my reluctance probably stems from my immediate family dynamic. I would accommodate their needs, so I should welcome when others do the same for me. I feel like I opened my eyes and lost my entire immediate family in under 24 hours, but my husband and my friends are plenty for me to feel loved and taken care of.
Family bonds should never come at the cost of your health and safety, especially when those closest to you refuse to acknowledge your medical needs. Subscribe to stay updated on stories of family betrayal and boundary setting that might help you navigate your own challenging relationships. Share your thoughts on medical gaslighting in the comments below, and explore our other videos about standing firm when loved ones cross unforgivable lines.